everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are all doing well. So today we're coming to you guys with the topic of anger, like differences in opinion and disagreements. Kind of like how we dealt with them, you know, when we first started our relationship and how we deal with it now. And then also we're gonna point out a few verses that like kind of we stick by now when it comes to this topic. Yeah, everything you want to say?
Basically, I just want to say, you know, what we're giving today is our perspective of how we dealt with it in our relationship, and our circumstance might be different to what you're going through, but some of these things kind of work the same way.
So, when it comes to the topic of anger and like, you know, like disagreements, we know that in any and pretty much every relationship, you're going to encounter, you know, a difference in opinion. You're going to encounter disagreements, and sometimes it's how you manage it, it's how you actually deal with it that determines if the relationship actually goes forward or if the relationship, like, you know, starts to have cracks and it breaks apart. And I think when we first, you know, started like dating and seeing each other, you know, first 2 years everything's great, you know. You come into the relationship, you're like, yeah, like, you know, you're so great, you know,
It's the lovey-dovey type.
Right? It's all honeymoon period, right? And everything's so great, like you just love the person so much, you know, you could see no wrong in them. And then you begin to see more and more of their personality, and you begin to see more and more of their traits and their characteristics, the things that they do that kind of like, you know, piss you off or like kind of like makes you feel a certain way. And then now you have to learn how to deal with that. And I think when we first started, it was so funny because, you know, the way we deal with conflict is very different. For me, I'm the type of person where I want to deal with it here and now. That's how I want to deal with it. Whereas with him, if he's like heated up or like, you know, annoyed, he likes to just like, you know, take a chill pill, relax, walk away, do whatever he needs to do before he comes back and then deals with the situation. And so we used to clash quite a lot because he would want to be like, oh, okay, just leave it, and I would be like, no, I want to deal with it now kind of situation. And so back then, it was quite a lot. So I guess when it comes to the topic of like differences in opinion, anger, and like disagreements, what do you have to say about that, like in regards to just relationships in general?
For that, it's basically, like you said at the beginning, it's two different people. Not only a female and a male, like two different people. It could be a male and a male living together in the same house. They will still have clashes because they're still, both of them are not the same. Their mind is not the same. They don't do things the same. So there will still be confusion and still some things there. And then it's even worse now when it's a female and a male, because the female mindset is different to a male. And sometimes it may be the same, but most of the time it's different. And then when you come into a household, you have your own perspective of how you do things or how you think about things, and the same as a male. So that's where a lot of the problem comes in. And then it's just now understanding that you're different, but wanting to move forward, to compromise on the differences. That's where it's hard. Who's willing to give in and who's willing to compromise and all of that, that's where it's a bit hard.
And I think also like from the very start of it, like what you're kind of pointing at what you're saying, you know, when you come from your family, you already witnessed a way of how people usually deal with anger and disagreements and like, you know, misunderstandings. You've already witnessed how it's usually dealt with in the home where you grew up. So when you come into now you're living with somebody else, you, I think, automatically just start to do that, and you just deal with it how you usually deal with it. 100%. And so it's like if the other individual is not like used to it, because you know some people, they're very hot-tempered and they'll just out of nowhere start yelling, start screaming, start you know, hitting things, hitting the wall, smashing the TV. I've heard of like crazy stories of people doing just really random stuff. And it's just a bit like, well, like, is that necessary? But
it's all about, you know, how basically the thing, if they scream the loudest, they're the most to be heard. But it's not really. For some of us, it just goes through one ear and the other. We're just waiting for our turn. You know, so at the end of the day, like you grew up in a big household, so all of you guys have to fight for things, type of thing. So when you come to that area, it's like, oh, you know, I want it my way, I want it my way. Because you have so many siblings, you all have to fight for it to be your way. So it's kind of, but then for me, I had a big family, but I didn't grow up with them.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think that's where it came from. Like you said, I like to hold those things. Yeah. So whenever I have a situation, it's not like a lot of people I have to fight with. It's like one-on-one. So I'm like, oh, I have time to think it over. Where for you, it's like brother's doing this, sister's doing this, mom is saying this, dad's saying this. So
that's true. So honestly, where you grew up is a big
it plays a big part.
Okay, so how, like, from your perspective, how did you used to deal with, like, whenever we would have times of, like, you know, misunderstandings, disagreements, and, like, you know, we're both angry and heated. How would you usually deal with it? Like at the very start of our relationship, when we first.
See, for me, I don't know. I think I'm consistent. Like before, I think, like you said, I would like to go away, and I don't want to talk about it now. But back then, I used to go away for like 3-4 days, and I don't want to talk to you about it, which was a bit too much. But it would take too long, you know. I'm a person that just I don't want to say something to you in that moment that will hurt your feelings. You know, because in that moment I'm so heated, I'm so angry, I could say anything. I'm in my anger, I might feel like this is true, this is how I feel in this moment. But it might not be the right thing. But if I'm in my right mind and I'm thinking, I'll be able to comprehend everything that we're talking about and tell you what I think. Like, for example, we're having a normal conversation and we're not angry. We understand each other, we're talking normal. But as soon as we're angry, our mind is not thinking the same. So that's how I feel. So that's why I go away. But back then, I used to take too long.
So I actually distinctly remember one of like our first fights. We went on a date in the city or something. And I can't remember what we disagreed about. But I don't know, we were just both pissed off at each other. And then we were just like, oh, whatever, like I'm done. And then I remember... I was catching the train, so just caught the train home. I just remember like literally being like, oh, so this is how it is when he's angry. He doesn't want to even talk about stuff. Like, I'm so done, I can't deal with that. I don't know if I can deal with that, like doing the most, you know. And from then, like I feel like we've grown so much over the years because like, I feel like it's always a work in progress, to be honest. But at the same time, you kind of learn from your mistakes. Like you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again, you know. And for me, like to be honest, how I deal with it, I'm still, like I said before at the very start, I'm the type of person. If there's a problem, like I want to deal with it now and sort it out now, kind of situation. And I think that like I get a bit annoyed when people don't want to sort it out. Like if we have a problem, let's talk about it. Let's sit down. Let's deal with it kind of situation. And that way we nip it in the butt and then we don't have to deal with it again. It's like, it's finished, that's it. Kind of like, let's forget about it. And obviously he's not like that. So when I try to like, no, like, let's talk about it, let's try to understand why we, you know, and then try to get our different perspectives. He's not in the mind frame to do that. Like for me, if I'm angry, I'm not angry, I'm ready to talk. I can talk, you know?
Yes, you can.
I can talk.
Yes, you can.
So,
I know that.
So then, like, you know, like, let's go. Like, I'm ready kind of thing, you know?
I give up about that. You win.
But you know, like,
even though we haven't talked about it, I'm like, you win.
One thing I realized, like, the way that, this is the problem with, obviously, how I deal with it, is that because I'm always ready to go, it doesn't mean that the things that come out of my mouth are going to be edifying or like healthy or things that are helpful or that will build us up as a couple. And so I had to really learn, okay, if you want to be the one to be like, okay, let's sort it out now, don't just be ready to fire as well at him, whereby you're going to fire all these words and then they're going to end up hurting him. And it's like, what was the reason? And did you solve any issues? No, you didn't. So
you just got your point across.
What was the reason? Literally said like, you got your point across, but did you solve the issue? No, you didn't. So that's one thing I had to learn from the way I dealt with it. And then I had to step back and be like, okay, that's not even how he deals with it. And he's not going to talk to me when he's angry. So I have to just let it be, let him do with it how he does it. And then I'm going to have to just be patient and wait until he's ready. Even though it pisses me off so much and it annoys me, like I had to learn to compromise and be like, okay, when he's ready, I guess we can talk about it.
I think the thing about it is we were immature at that time to understand where, like, for example, if you're angry, I don't have to be angry. You're coming to express yourself.
Yeah.
I just have to be the ear just to listen and be like, understand. Because like, you're not angry. I mean, I'm not angry.
Yeah.
To understand, okay, I'm wrong in this area. All right. And come out in a calm way. You know, the way I got this from is, you remember when we had that counseling thing with Pastor?
Yeah.
And he's like, in a relationship, one has to be a water and one has to be the fire.
Yeah.
So if she comes up the fire, I have to be the calm one in order to calm her down.
Exactly.
But it doesn't matter what she said, like she said, when she's talking, she meant everything that she's saying, but it's coming out in a negative way. You that is calm, you have to be to an area where you understand, but you know that she's not in the right mind at that time. That's why it's coming out like that.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to be like, okay, and just listen and take it in, but you don't have to completely take everything in. Listen to where she's coming from or where he's coming from and be like, okay, I understand. But when she's finished, I'm 100%, most of the time it works.
Yeah.
When you finish letting everything out, and then when your guys are okay, I'm sorry, or they express where you're coming from, that time you calm down and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I'm sorry for talking like this to you or this and that. But if you're not mature enough or if you're not understanding enough that as soon as they start saying negative stuff, straight away you start bouncing back because you're all fired up as well.
Because
then it does nothing.
TBH, because it can really be like that.
Yeah.
Like, you can be like back and forth, you're just firing at each other there. One says something, you say something, you just... So it's really like, it doesn't help.
You get nowhere.
And I feel like now that we're a bit like more mature about it, like, you know, 10 years into the relationship, we're learning.
Yeah.
But I feel like now it's kind of like, okay, I'll ask that question later, but what was I trying to say? I was trying to say, the firing back at each other, back and forth, like, it's kind of like, okay, you're yelling, you're doing the most, and then you leave each other feel so hurt and so upset, but that wasn't even your desire in the first place. Like, you weren't trying to hurt the other person. You were just trying to get your point across, right? 100%. Because at the end of the day, when it really comes down to it, one thing that I really learned, like, that has like really turned my whole mindset of when it comes to anger, is that when it comes to anger, think about it as a difference in opinion. Always say it as a difference in opinion. If somebody's really angry about something, they feel passionate about that thing. Why are they angry about it? Because this is how they view life, this is how they see things about the situation. Okay, if that person is really that passionate about it, what is it about it that you need to also like tap into? Why are they so upset about it? Like, let's say, for example, let me just give my own example. When we were dating, I'd get upset if, for example, like Ben doesn't tell me when he's going out with like his any of his girlfriends, and he doesn't tell me about it, or he doesn't inform me, lets me know, oh, by the way, I'm doing this and this. I'll be a bit like, well, why didn't you let me know? Because obviously, you know, I know like we all have like opposite sex friendships, but at the end of the day, it's good to communicate because you're both dating, so you don't know exactly what's happening with each other, kind of thing. So I'll get upset about that. So it's like, okay, why am I getting upset about that? What is it that actually, you know, like winds me up about it, and try to understand, you know what I mean? Because for Ben is a chill guy, he talks to everyone, he's a friendly guy. But for me, it's kind of like, well, you don't know like the intentions of the females that the person might be around. You don't know, you know, where they're coming from. And I don't know those friends very well either. If I knew them and I trust them, I don't have a problem. But if I don't know them, like, how am I going to trust, you know, obviously I trust you, I can trust you, but you just don't know how females are going to act. You know what I mean sometimes? Depending on who they are, and if you don't know who they are as well. So just the opportunity, like you're leaving room for opportunity for like random stuff to happen and then bring issues into your relationship. You know what I mean? So that's like, you know, if I was to get upset when we were dating, it would be like from that perspective, and that's the reason why I'm upset about it. You know what I mean? But it was like, did we even want to understand behind it? The reason behind why someone was upset? Not really. We were just like, why are you even upset? Like, when we were like, don't you trust me? Like, you know, I'm here for you. I'm your man. I don't want anybody else, blah, blah, blah. I said, that's not the point. You're not understanding the point. Do you know what I mean? So really, like, understanding that there's always a reason behind it, and what is the opinion, you know, because we both have different opinions when it comes to the topic. But what is the opinion? And can we accept the other person's opinion of that topic, of that situation? I mean,
you know,
can we accept that?
There's a saying that basically, you know, like when you write a 6 on the ground, and then I'm facing this way, but you're standing that way. Opposite sex, like you're my wife, you're standing that way, I'm the male, I'm this way. to me it's a 6. I can see it. I'm not wrong at all. I can see it. It's a 6. But to you, it's a 9. And you can see it. You're not wrong either. But the only way that I will understand where you're coming from is if I stand in your shoe. If I come on your side and be like, okay, this is where, or you come on my side. But if we decide to stay on our side, nah, I'm not doing things your way, or I'm not listening to you, you will never get to see the right. Both of you may be right, but until you get in each other's shoes, you'll never know the right answer. So,
literally. So when it comes down to it, it's like really understanding from the other person's perspective, how they feel, how they see it. And then also being like, do you actually want to accept that as well or not? And then the same for the other person, you know? So next question. Now that we've been in the relationship for like the 10 years, what are the best ways that we deal with like when disagreements and like anger and like when we misunderstand each other?
Like I said at the beginning, I used to take really long. But now I feel like what I do is I still take time off before I come to talk to you. But now I'll let you know about, I don't really feel like speaking right now, or I'll give you an answer of why I'm angry, but I don't want to talk about it right now. I'd rather think about it. So I feel like that made you understand that, or you know, he's angry and this is who he is, but he's not going to take long. He doesn't want to hurt me and stuff like that. And then you'll give me that time, and you'll still come back later and be like, are you ready now? Type of thing. And if I'm ready, I'll be like, yeah. But back then, it used to be like, I'll take a long time, but now I don't take much longer, and I assure you that.
So annoying.
I assure you that, you know, I'm doing this. And all of that. So I think that helped in that area. And we're going pretty good. What about you?
For me, I'm still the same, not going to lie. I still want to deal with it now. Now.
But I feel like what changed in you a little bit is how you bring out the information. Now, you still bring it out how you want, but sometimes you're considerate of how I feel. You kind of, you let me know, oh, this is what I mean. I'm not trying to hurt you, but this is what I mean. But
so like I'll try to explain it to you.
But sometimes it still comes out in the
like the thing
way.
is, to be honest, for me, I just feel like I'm a bit of a direct person. So when I just say things like how I see them, and I say it like it is. So like to me, it's not that deep. But obviously, when you're upset about something, it is deep.
That's what I can say. I'm direct, but it doesn't mean being direct doesn't mean you have to say it that way. You can say it different way. It's how you bring out the information that makes it hard to understand.
It's how you say it. So I've had to learn. I'm still learning. I'm not gonna lie. Like sometimes things just slip out. But no, definitely. I feel like I think every time I think about it, I always have to remind myself, like, say it the right way, otherwise he's not going to get it, and he's not going to understand it, even if you're upset about it. And I think one thing that I also actually do is, when I'm a bit annoyed and like pissed off, I just avoid it. Like, sometimes, depending on the situation, if I can't be bothered, like, just trying to explain myself, I just like, don't worry about it. So and I just walk off and then forget about it. And then I'll come back another time and I'll be like, last time you did this and this and this. Like,
it doesn't help. You ladies do that a lot, okay?
Because like sometimes it's like I don't have the energy to do the nonsense.
But there's the thing, bro. See, when you bring it out in the normal way, where I understand you're mad. But if you think about it and bring it out in a way that I'll understand, it works out beautiful. I understand, I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, or whatever it is, we sort it out. Why don't you do it like that from then on?
But the thing is, sometimes you're not even willing to listen, depending on the situation.
No, because,
you're not willing to listen.
But that's what I'm saying, because, like, my point is, when you bring it out in a way that the person or the other side understands, obviously you're angry, and sometimes, like I said, the immaturity kicks in, that as soon as you say something, I get fired up as well, and then I say something back. And then that causes you to back off. And it's the same for me as well. When I do it to you, that causes me to back off. I don't want to talk anymore. You know, and then later on, when you bring it up, like if you forget about it, and then 2-3 weeks later, I do something and then you bring it up, in my mind, I'm like, what the hell?
You always do this.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
Anyways, but the point is, like, I guess we all deal with, like, you know, anger and disagreements differently.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's about understanding your person.
Yeah.
And I feel like, to be honest, there are times when it's just kind of like, you just both need to just even not worry about it. Because, not gonna lie, but sometimes it's actually a spiritual thing, whereby it's like, you're both fine, there's no problem, out of nowhere now, there's something to be arguing about. You know what I don't understand? How there's memes out there that say like some girls, they get bored and then they have to start an argument. I'm like, I don't get that. Like,
see, you know, some relationship will be going really good and everything's all nice and we're just sitting there. Sometimes it gets a little bit boring, you want to spice it up a little bit. So I'll make her a little bit angry, I'll be cheeky a little bit, and then she'll get ground up, and then we sort it out and we're back again. But
so he's the one that does that in this relationship.
But not fighting. I don't want to fight.
But the thing is, I take it personal and then I start doing the most.
She takes every little thing personal. So that's why it's a little bit hard for me to find something that she'll know I'm joking, but we'll still, you know. But it gets boring when you're just saying that.
I found that so silly. But anyways, I feel like sometimes you really have to be alert and aware.
Yeah.
It's like when the thing just drops out of nowhere, everything's going great, and then out of nowhere it's like anger, unnecessary disagreement. You have to really be vigilant and try to understand, is this a spiritual attack? Is something that is like, you know, you shouldn't even put your attention or your mind to, or is it something that you need to actually like pray about kind of situation? Because there are things that they sometimes just come out of nowhere, and it's like you just need to pray about it. Just don't even worry about it. Don't even waste your energy trying to argue or trying to get angry, but just pray about it. There's something that's just like
100%.
Just don't worry about it. Pray about it.
Testimony is a while back, we used to go through some problems and stuff, and then she just got to a stage that she was like, enough is enough. She went and started praying about it, and then few days or like a week later, I came and I apologized. I'll be like, oh, I just felt like I needed to do this and this. And then she's like, yeah, because I prayed about it. Like, in my house, I'm like, hey, so you take your private issue to God now, so that guy can come talk to me. But sometimes that's the best way, because he's the only one that understands you, and he will explain it to you better, and he will make you calm down. The same for the lady as well.
Exactly.
So that's the best way to go about it. Go pray about it. Let it be your first option.
Literally.
And then he might give you the better scenario of how to talk to your man or your woman as well. And then when you bring it out, it'll be even better.
100%. So verses like what are some verses that we kind of stand by? I wrote some down. So Ephesians chapter 4 verse 26, it says, you know, in your anger do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you're still angry. And then Proverbs 15:8, a hot-tempered person stirs up conflict, but the one who is patient calms a quarrel. And lastly, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So a lot of
Just read mine as well.
Read yours. Okay, so yours is James chapter 1 verse 19 to 20. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. So throughout most of it, guys, like, you know, one other version that I read said that, you know, be angry but don't sin. So like, I feel like we have to understand that anger is like one of the natural responses that we have as humans. From my understanding, like, God is not saying that we're not allowed to be angry. If we're angry about something, we're upset about something, it's for a reason. You know, there were times where, in, you know, the word, Jesus got upset about things. He got angry, like when he turned the tables in the church. He got angry because it's like, what are you doing in my house? You're not meant to be like selling and doing all this kinds of stuff in the house of God. You know, this is not what it's for. You know, so it's like there are situations where we are allowed to be angry. We are allowed to be upset about it. It's okay, you know. But at the same time, it's how we deal with that anger and how we manage it that determines, you know, the outcome of the situation. And clearly, it says here, you know, in your anger, don't sin. Just don't start to do things. For example, lashing out, hitting the walls, doing the most, or, you know, like speaking negative words, putting people down, cussing. Is that necessary? Not really. It's not necessary, because now you're also sinning. You're also going against, you know, what God says to do in His Word. And because it says even hot-tempered people, they stir up the conflict. When you're hot-tempered and you're doing the most, you're stirring up the conflict, you know. And that's one thing that I had to learn as well. Like, because I'm the type that if I get upset and I'm talking, doing the most, I'm not helping. I'm stirring up the conflict. I'm stirring up even more anger in the person, and it's not even going to help them to calm them down, you know. It's not going to calm the situation at all. So one thing that I always remember is a gentle answer. When we have like a gentle answer, the words we speak, the things we say, it will turn away that anger and, you know, calm the situation down, and then you'll be able to deal with it better and actually understand each other and understand your perspectives instead of just going off at each other as if that's going to help the situation, you know. So yeah, that's what I want to say with my ones.
One thing I want to talk about yours was one thing we gotta know is even God himself, it says the wrath of God. It talks about the disciple angered God and all of this. We can see when God get angry. But it's not staying angry, and what you do during your anger is what is wrong. You know, like when God was angry, he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. He flooded the whole earth. He did all this stuff during his anger. It wasn't like God was just chilling and he was like, oh, I just want to destroy that, or I just want to destroy this. You know, because he was angry. He wasn't wrong for doing it, but because he was angry, that's when he went and did it. It's the same for us. You know how it says, don't let the sun go down while you're angry. You know, because the longer you're angry, the more chances you give to the enemy to work through you. The more chances you open up yourself for a lot of different things. A lot of negative ideas come in your mind. Oh, this. And then you start to do it. And, you know, for my one, I think I chose that because it reflected of me, you know. Where it's like, you know, I like to listen, but I don't like to speak straight away. I'd rather go away, think about it, and then come back and speak. But even sometimes I speak up. I think the reason I'm like this now is because I will just say things without even knowing that I'm hurting the other person. But then I realize that when I go away and I think about stuff and I come back and speak, it doesn't hurt the person as much, and then they understand. So that's why I started doing things the way that I do it now.
Awesome. So like you said, be slow to speak, slow to anger, and quick to listen. That's a really good one, and I think it 100% applies more to how you deal with stuff. But yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. I hope that this video was helpful. I hope that you guys learned something new. Alright,
guys, just go follow the Heart to Heart with Harry on Instagram and just like it, guys. It's really awesome on there as well. And just like, subscribe on this page, and we'll keep bringing the bangers.